Avalon didn't sleep after the storm. It just held its breath. By the time Selene and I rolled back into Node 7, dawn hadn't broken, but the sky was beginning to admit it had run out of night. A dim gray stretched across the horizon like the city was waking up reluctantly, ready to resent whatever came next. The mule hissed as it settled into the yard. Steam rose off the hood. Rain dripped from the undercarriage in slow, metallic taps, each one echoing louder than it should. Selene didn't move at first. She sat in the passenger seat, damp hair tied back loosely, eyes fixed somewhere ahead but nowhere real. Her fingers rested lightly on her knee, still, controlled, but the tension wound beneath them was unmistakable. Tonight had shaken her. Not physically, not fear. Something older. I shut off the engine. The hum faded, leaving us alone with the quiet. "You're thinking too hard," I said. She didn't answer. "Selene." Her eyes flicked to mine, dark and unreadable. "If you want me to lie, I can be charming about it. But if you want the truth, I do. Then I'm thinking exactly as much as the situation requires." Which meant she was thinking too much. I stepped out into the yard. Cold air clung to my skin, carrying the faint scent of rust from the industrial district. The lights along the exterior wall flickered once, normal for this part of Avalon. Power lines struggled in weather like this. The door on the passenger side clicked. Selene stepped out, her boots landing quietly on wet concrete. She stood beside me, but didn't look at the base. She looked at the sky, like the clouds were holding answers she used to know how to read. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm calculating," she replied. "Calculating what?" "If we have hours before they respond, or minutes." A chill threaded down my spine, subtle, instinctive, the kind that didn't come from weather. "Inside," I said. We entered Node 7. The base was as we left it, reinforced walls, dim lighting, silent hallways. The Ashline boys were still asleep upstairs, tools lay neatly arranged on the workbench. The med capsule hummed in the sub-basement like a sleeping animal. Normal. For now. Selene paced the interior perimeter once, checking windows, doors, angles. Not the casual sweep of someone cautious, the precise sweep of someone expecting intrusion. She stopped near the central console. "Power fluctuations," she said softly. "The storm did that." "No." She placed 2 fingers against the side panel. "This isn't weather. It's pattern disruption." "Meaning?" She sighed. "Meaning, someone brushed up against your perimeter defenses without setting off an alarm." My jaw tightened. "Impossible." She turned her head toward me. "You installed your own system. You know how to bypass it." "Show me." She touched the console. Lines of code rolled across the display. Her doing, not mine. Node 7's firewall, infiltration logs, proximity triggers, all normal. Except for one thing. A single blip of interference. So small, it looked like noise. So intentional, it felt like a whisper pressed against the back of my neck. I leaned in. "Is that?" "Not a breach," she said. "A brush, like someone reached to knock and change their mind." "I don't want visitors." "No," she murmured. "But you have one anyway." Her fingers flew across the interface, isolating the blip, translating its patterns. When she froze, I felt it before I understood it. The symbol from last night etched itself across the screen in faint, fractured lines. Not drawn, not transmitted, just suggested by the interruption pattern, like someone left a fingerprint made of intention instead of touch. She whispered one word. No. Explain, I said. They didn't breach you. They just wanted you to know they could. A coldness crawled down my spine. Not fear. Recognition. They marked Node 7. She corrected quietly. They marked you. Just like they did the Father. Just like they did the Son. And you? I asked. She didn't answer. The silence was answer enough. What do they want? I asked. She exhaled slowly. To see what you do next. I stared at the symbol. Then they'll get a show. Her eyes flicked to mine, something soft passing between us. Approval, maybe, or something that lived beside it. Before she could speak, a pulse buzzed through the console. Not from my system, not from hers. A message appeared, no sender, no address, no origin trail. Just one line of text. Come see what was left for you. Under it, coordinates, a timestamp 20 minutes from now, and the same angular mark. Selene's lips parted, not in shock, but in realization. They're guiding you, she whispered. They're building a path. For me? I asked. For us, she corrected gently, stepping closer. Everything they've done since last night has been deliberate, measured, directed. Intimidation? No. Observation. They want to see whether we follow, whether we adapt, whether we obey. Do I look like I obey well? She smiled faintly, tired, amused, fond. No, she said quietly. And that's why they're watching you. The console blinked once. The symbol burned brighter. Selene leaned close, closer than she needed to be, close enough that her breath brushed the side of my jaw when she spoke. We can't ignore this. If we stay here, they'll escalate. If we go, we might get answers. You seem very comfortable walking into someone else's trap. She held my gaze. I'm comfortable walking into it with you. The words hit harder than I wanted to admit. I straightened up. Gear up. She inhaled softly, approval disguised as breath. Already did, she murmured, stepping toward the door. I followed her out into the gray dawn, the air heavy with mist and meaning. The shadow organization had left something for us to find. And whatever it was, it hadn't been meant for anyone else.
The mule cut through the thinning rain like a blade, tires hissing over wet asphalt as we headed toward the coordinates. Dawn tried and failed to break through the clouds. The world looked suspended, caught between night and morning, certainty and threat. Selene sat angled slightly toward me, hands resting on her knees, posture deceptively relaxed. But beneath it, she was analyzing patterns, possibilities, dangers. The air around her felt charged. Why 20 minutes? I asked. Because they want us to arrive after something, she said softly. Not before. What something? Her eyes drifted to the horizon. A transition. Vague, but intentional. Selene didn't speak carelessly. I let the silence work while I drove. As we approached the industrial line of the expanse border, the signs of Avalon thinned. Less neon, more rust. Abandoned factories, derelict towers, forgotten places where nobody asked questions, because nobody cared enough to listen. Whoever sent the message, they're confident. Too confident. That's the point, she said softly. They want you to feel their reach. I don't respond well to reach. She looked at me then, slowly, deliberately. You respond perfectly. You become very direct. Her voice slid over me like warm smoke. Dangerous, distracting, intentional. I kept my eyes on the road. The coordinates took us to a long stretch of cracked pavement leading toward an old observatory. The dome rose like a broken skull against the pale morning sky. Selene's breath caught, not fear, memory. You've been here, I said. Once, a lifetime ago. A good memory or a bad one? Neither. It wasn't a memory. It was a warning. Before I could ask more, she touched my forearm lightly, an instinctive grounding gesture. Slow, she whispered. I eased the mule to a crawl. The observatory's entrance loomed ahead. Rusted steel doors, one half open, bent inward as if something had struck from the inside. We parked in silence. Selene unbuckled. I followed. Stay close, I warned. I wasn't planning on wandering, she said, stepping beside me. But she didn't move immediately. She stood at the hood of the mule, eyes locked on the observatory as if checking for something invisible. Finally, she exhaled. There's no surveillance, not local, not corporate. So it's clean. No, it's curated. That didn't feel like reassurance. We approached slowly, boots crunching gravel, rainwater dripping from an overhead beam in slow, steady drops. The inside smelled like rust and old dust, abandoned years ago, maybe longer. The first thing I saw when I stepped through the doorway wasn't a threat. It was a trail of blood. Thin, inconsistent. Not from a fight, not from panic, from collapse. Selene crouched immediately, tracing the edge of the smear with one gloved finger. Hours old, she murmured, but not many. He came here injured, not dragged. He? I asked. She nodded ahead. A figure lay slumped against the inner wall of the observatory, one of the shadow unit drivers from last night. His clothes were soaked. His breathing was shallow, erratic. Selene moved before I did. Careful, I said. I am, she whispered, kneeling beside him. He opened his eyes the moment her shadow crossed his face. Recognition hit him like a physical blow, wrenching, terrified. No, 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 he rasped, trying to pull away, nails scraping weakly against concrete. Selene stopped him with a hand against his chest, not forceful, but firm. You're all right, she said. No, you weren't supposed to, you left. His voice cracked, devolving into breathless panic. He clutched at his own palm suddenly, fingers digging into skin. Selene grabbed his wrist gently but quickly. Don't, she warned. I stepped closer. His palm bore the faint outline of the symbol, the same angular mark that had surfaced on our HUD replication. But this one wasn't projected. It was burned, branded beneath the skin like it had grown there. What did they do to you? I asked. He didn't look at me. He stared at Selene. They said you were gone, he whispered. They said you couldn't interfere anymore. Selene froze. That single word, anymore, hung in the air like a blade. I watched her face carefully. She didn't show fear. She showed something colder. We disrupted something, I said. No, the driver muttered. You broke it. You weren't supposed to. The sequence collapses if you pull too early. Sequence? I asked. He shook, trying to swallow but failing. His breath rattled like broken machinery. They're angry, he whispered. You changed the evaluation timeline. They had him mapped. predicted. His resistance was charted, but you—" His body seized. Selene reacted instantly, bracing him, trying to keep him upright. "Stay with me," she said, voice taut. He turned toward her, terror giving way to a strange, hollow calm. "They'll correct you," he breathed. "Both of you." Then his pulse convulsed, his back arched, and he went utterly still. Selene remained kneeling for a moment too long, her hands still on his chest, her breath barely contained. "Selene," I said softly. She didn't rise immediately. Her eyes were on the mark in his palm. "This wasn't conditioning," she murmured. "This was override." Meaning, they shut him down. Her voice was thin, tight, controlled, like she was tamping down something volatile. He should have never been able to access this place. He shouldn't have had the strength. He shouldn't have been sent here. Unless— "Unless what?" I asked. "Unless they wanted us to see him." My jaw clenched. "A message," she corrected. "A demonstration, showing what they can do when someone outlives their usefulness, and showing what they think they can do to us." She turned to me, and for the first time, her mask slipped. Not fully, but just enough. Enough for me to see something personal in her eyes. "They won't," she whispered. "Because of me?" I asked. "No," she said. "Because they didn't finish the job the first time." Before I could respond, the lights above us flickered. Once, then twice, then cut out completely. Selene stepped closer, instinctively, almost touching my arm. "We're not alone," she breathed. And the observatory settled into darkness.
Darkness dropped into the observatory like a blade, clean, sudden, absolute. One moment, the dead man's breathing was the loudest thing in the room. The next, the world collapsed into silence so complete it felt engineered. Selene's hand brushed my arm. Not a flinch, not fear. Instinct. "Don't move," she whispered. Her voice was low, barely sound, more breath, the kind of whisper trained not to disturb dust. I stayed still. The observatory's dome groaned overhead as the storm winds rolled across its surface. Dripping water echoed from somewhere deeper inside, quiet but rhythmic, a pattern, not random. Footsteps. Soft. Measured. Multiple. "Rear exit," I mouthed. "No," she breathed. "They'll expect retreat. We go down." "Down where?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she slipped her hand around my wrist and guided me backward, step by controlled step, toward the rear of the chamber. Her grip was warm and steady, grounding in a place that felt designed to disorient. A faint click echoed on the far side of the room. Safety off. Multiple weapons. "Eyes adjusting," she whispered. Slowly. "You need more carrots. That's not how eyesight works." She huffed a near-silent laugh, one sharp exhale that cut through the tension like a wire. Then the first beam of a flashlight sliced across the chamber, narrow, deliberate, sweeping. We froze. The beam paused on the dead driver's body. "That's the signal," she murmured. "They're checking their work." A second beam joined the first. Then a third. 3 operatives fanning out, moving with unnatural calm. Selene pulled me closer, close enough that her shoulder pressed to my chest. Her breath hit my collarbone, warm against the cold air. "Don't let them isolate you," she whispered.
If they separate us, they'll use different tactics. Tactics for what? To assess you. That's cute. They think I'm testable. You are, she said quietly. Then softer. You're also unpredictable. That terrifies them. The beams swept again. This time, one passed dangerously close to our position, pale light brushing the bare edge of a rusted console. They know we're here, I murmured. Of course they do, she replied. We're the point of the demonstration. I didn't like how calm she sounded. Not detached, focused. Selene, I said. How far does this place go down? She didn't slow. I told you. A warning. From who? She inhaled slowly. Someone who used to matter. Cryptic, controlled. A wall she didn't want opened yet. Before I could press, she stopped abruptly and placed a hand on my chest. Quiet, she whispered. I listened. Above us, faint through concrete and rust, footsteps echoed through the observatory. Not searching anymore, pursuing. They know about the passage, I said. No, she replied, but they know we're not in the chamber. They'll assume an exit and divide. Divide how? One group to sweep the exterior, the other to find the down route. And the third? She voice dropped. To flush us out. A hum rose from the metal beneath our feet, mechanical, growing, threatening. They're forcing ventilation, she said, removing breathable air to drive us up. I gripped her wrist. This tunnel wasn't designed for that. I know. Where's the next junction? She took my hand, then pressed it to a low fracture in the wall. There. I ran my fingers across cold metal, felt the weak point, the seam. On 3, I whispered. No, she said. On trust. Before I could reply, she stepped closer, so close her lips nearly brushed mine when she whispered, Together. We hit the weak point simultaneously, my shoulder, her precision strike. The wall gave way, collapsing into a deeper corridor filled with stale air and shadows that stretched far beyond the reach of light. The ventilation roar intensified behind us. No time to hesitate. Selene gripped my hand tightly. We're below their map now, she whispered. They can't track us here. Good, I said. They shouldn't. She exhaled, relief faint but real. Cade. Yeah? Her voice softened into something dangerous and intimate. Stay close. This part isn't safe. I squeezed her hand. I'm not going anywhere. And as we descended deeper into the earth, pursued by enemies who shouldn't exist and memories she wasn't ready to share, Selene didn't let go. Neither did I.
The maintenance hatch sealed behind us with a soft hydraulic sigh, plunging the world into a narrow tunnel barely wide enough for the two of us. The walls were old alloy, scratched, dented, patched over with metals that didn't match. Every few meters, faint red lights glowed beneath grime and dust, casting the passage in a low crimson haze. Selene moved ahead, steps light and precise despite the uneven flooring. You know where this leads, I whispered. Mostly, she said. Mostly isn't comforting. Comfort isn't my specialty, she murmured. Precision is. Argumentative, I said. Accurate, she corrected. Her voice warmed just slightly, like she appreciated the banter more than she wanted to show. The tunnel took a sharp downward turn. The hum from the facility above deepened through the metal under our feet, vibrating in a low, sustained tone, unsettling, as if the structure itself was thinking again after decades of sleep. After a moment, Selene slowed and motioned for me to stop. She pressed her ear lightly to the wall. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. I listened. Faint, almost inaudible. A soft pattern of tones, ascending and descending in intervals too precise to be random. Not mechanical, not organic. "It's signaling," I murmured. "Yes," Selene said, "but not to us." The tones shifted, slightly higher, slightly faster. "What does it mean?" I asked. "It's an old behavioral echo," she whispered, "designed to test how people react when they're disoriented." I frowned. "Testing fear?" "Testing compliance," she corrected. She turned, her silhouette framed by the red light. "If someone panicked under this noise, they'd follow the path of least resistance. If they stayed calm, they'd choose the harder path." "Which path do we take?" I asked. She stepped closer, her breath brushing my jawline. "The difficult one," she said softly. I nearly smiled. She noticed. "You like that answer," she murmured. "It's very you." "Very us," she corrected. The tunnel forked ahead, left veering upward, brighter, smoother, right descending deeper, darker. The tones were stronger on the left, inviting almost. Selene didn't even hesitate. She turned right. We moved downward into a space that felt older than the rest, rust flaking from pipes, condensation dripping steadily, the smell of wet earth heavy in the air. The hum above intensified. "Someone's accessing the upper grid," she whispered. "They're trying to locate us by heat and movement." "Can they?" "No," she said. "This part of the facility wasn't built for modern scanning." "By design?" "Yes." We continued deeper. The maintenance ring widened into a broader space, an old structural walkway suspended above a dark pit. The walkway swayed under our weight, metal groaning softly. Pipes snaked in every direction like arteries. The air was colder here, sinking into bone. Selene ran her fingers along one of the pipes, feeling the vibration. This was a calibration chamber for emotional response tests. Meaning? Meaning this room was designed to unsettle people. "Working," I said. She shot me a faint smile over her shoulder, then froze. I followed her gaze. Across the walkway, at the far end of the ring, a faint shimmer cut through the air, like heat distortion but colder. Someone had entered the chamber. Selene inhaled sharply. "They shouldn't be here," she whispered. "This room isn't on their maps." The shimmer solidified. A figure stepped through a narrow maintenance doorway, one of the shadow operatives. Alone, masked, weapon drawn. He scanned the chamber with mechanical calm. Selene tapped my arm lightly, a barely there gesture. "Do not rush him," she whispered. "I wasn't planning. I wasn't talking to your body. I was talking to your pulse." She wasn't wrong. My heart rate had kicked up. The operative stepped 2 steps onto the walkway. The metal groaned beneath him. "He doesn't understand the chamber," she whispered. "He doesn't know the triggers." "Triggers?" She nodded towards a rusted sensor grid on the ceiling, barely visible, covered in dust. "If he crosses the 3rd panel, the auto-response activates." "What kind of response?" "Environmental stress." I watched the operative. He stepped once, twice. Selene's hand hovered near her weapon, not touching it. Ready. Measured. The operative stepped a 3rd time. The chamber groaned. Pipes vibrated. A low mechanical voice, broken, ancient, crackled through unseen speakers. "Compliance failure. Detected." The walkway shuddered violently. The operative staggered, grabbing a pipe for balance. Water burst from a valve overhead and sprayed scalding hot steam across the metal. "Move," I whispered. "Wait," Selene breathed. The operative shifted his footing, stepping back, not forward. The chamber reacted instantly. Realignment initiated. The walkway snapped a meter downward, sudden, brutal. The operative dropped to one knee. "Selene." "Now," she whispered. We moved together. She sprinted across the walkway, dodging steam burst with precision. I followed, using the pipes overhead to steady myself as the structure swayed under violent recalibration cycles. The operative spotted us too late. He raised his weapon. Selene reached him first. She slammed her forearm against his wrist, redirecting the barrel downward. The shot fired, ricocheting harmlessly into the grating. She pivoted, swept his legs out, and pressed the blade of her compact weapon to his throat, sharp, controlled. He didn't resist. He looked at her. Not hatred, recognition. "You," he rasped. Selene's breath caught. Not fear. Something colder. "What did they tell you about me?" she whispered. "That you," he gasped, "failed your purpose." Her eyes sharpened. "And you," she murmured, "failed your autonomy." I didn't know what that meant. The operative did. Because he tried to break her hold, not to fight, but to reach the insignia burned on his palm. Selene slammed his hand against the grate. "Not this time," she hissed. He stared up at her, something like grief in his eyes. "They'll reclaim you, both of you. It's already begun." Before we could question him, the chamber's voice crackled again. "Realignment complete. Next sequence initiated." Selene's eyes widened. "We need to move," she said sharply. "What about him?" She pulled her blade away and rose. "He won't follow." "Selene." She stepped close, gripping my arm. "Cade, if we stay, this entire ring becomes a test, and we're not giving them data." I nodded. We ran. Behind us, the operative knelt on the walkway, staring at the symbol on his palm like it was the last thing he remembered belonging to. The chamber lights flickered violently, the hum deepened, and the facility prepared for its next sequence.
I appreciate you being here. Really. If you want more, you know the rules. Like the video, subscribe, and stay in my orbit a little longer.